I'll always see your face, the corner of your smile, and all the little things no one will ever know. Like it was yesterday, won't ever fade away. Goodbye is just a word I will never say. You will never be forgotten. A million days could pass us by, but what is time but just a dream? Oh, I still feel you here with me. You're more than just a memory. Oh, you will never be forgotten. I can't hold your hand or look into your eyes. When I talk to you, it just echoes in my mind. But if hearts are made of dust, and if we fell from the stars, I'd look up tonight and know just where you are. You will never be forgotten. A million days could pass us by, but what is time but just a dream? Well, I still feel you here with me. You're more than just a memory. Oh, you will never be forgotten. And the world just keeps on going. It has no way of knowing that you're gone. Forgotten.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. To the Wambua family, my most sincere condolences. To both the larger family and to specifically Anne and Giselle Wambua. Thank you very much for those who have come. I understand that the bigger component here will be the Wambua family, and then close friends and family and colleagues. We have got a program. Sorry we did not share it with you, so that was deliberate. But the program will consist of tributes from both Paul's schoolmates, work colleagues, and also family. So without much further ado, I would like to welcome you all, and also hope that we'll have a fruitful memorial. So the program will basically start with a video of Paul Wambua, a song called I Was Here. Thereafter there'll be a meditation by Reverend Jackie Othoro, as well as a hymn. Then we shall move on to the essence of Paul. Okay, that shall include tributes, stroke stories on his school life in Upper Hill and the campus by Mr. Diko Mondi. we shall have the UN Habitat, Paul's former boss, Anantha Krishan. It will be read by Paul's former colleague, Mutinta. Then we shall have the UN Habitat Youth Program, which was Paul's main focus at the UN Habitat. We have got Abdi Mohammed, who's also going to make who's going to speak on behalf of the youth. Then we shall have, prior to the UN Habitat, this has just been a small change in the program. I would like to invite Anne Wairimu, after Jackie Othoro has spoken, to just read on Paul's work life at the UN. Okay? Thereafter, we shall continue with the program, because it's better we have the work life first and then the tributes from the other colleagues, and then we shall move on from there. Thereafter, we shall have a song after Mr. Mutinda Mutuku, who's going to make a speech on behalf of Paul's friends. We shall have a song, See You Again, by Charlie Puth. Thereafter, we shall have tributes and stories from Hayden Bixby, a friend of Paul. Family tributes, which I'll read on behalf of the Thompson family, Paul's in-laws. Then there shall be the family tributes on behalf of the Wambuas, read by Bob Kioko. Then we shall have a tribute by Paul's mom, which shall be read by Mr. David Wambua, the anchor. Thereafter, we shall have a song, People Like You, by Gramps Morgan. Then we shall have Kathy Wambua, Paul's younger sister, who shall make a small statement before finally introducing the final tribute by Ann Thompson Wambua and Isel Wambua, Paul's wife and family, who are not with us here, but they're in Vietnam. And we wish them all the best. Thereafter, we shall have our slideshow on Paul Wambua. It might take about 10 minutes. Then we shall have the vote of thanks and closing remarks. Thereafter, we shall have a playlist of Paul's favorite music on Spotify. Thereafter, we shall mingle and continue. So without further ado, may I welcome the video to be played. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm just going to read a few words here from Paul. Although your hearts may be broken, there's no need to weep for me. I'm in a wonderful place now, where I'm happy and so carefree. I had to go, but I left behind good memories to comfort you. Concentrate on the best times we had and try not to feel so blue. One day we'll be together again to laugh, sing and dance. You'll be so glad to see me again. It will seem I was gone just one day. So try to lift up your heads now and then to set it aside, because I'll be waiting here for you to welcome you to the other side. Thank you.
I wanna leave my footprints on the sands of time. Know there was something that meant something that I left behind. When I leave this world, I'll leave no regrets. Leave something to remember, so they won't forget everything that I wanted, and it was more than I thought it would be. I will leave my mark so everyone will know I was here. I'm gonna say I live each day until I die, and know that I meant something in somebody.
afternoon. Sorry for the drama. These masks things, it's always one thing or the other. And so to just get it out of the way, sanitized, so I believe I can speak through, so you can hear me clearly. My name is Reverend Jackie Othoro. I'm a minister at the Purpose Centered Church at the Ruach Assemblies here in Nairobi. I have known this family for many years. We grew up together in Loresho. I think I was about maybe 10 or 12 when I got to meet Kathy and some of the siblings that way back. So I stand here as a friend, I stand here as a minister of the gospel, and I stand here to condole with you as you go through the pain of having lost a loved one and the pain of distance. And I pray that the few words that I'll speak at this time will bring you some comfort, that as you mourn the loss of Paul, the homegoing of Paul, that you would be able to find a place of some peace and comfort even in this. I bring you the condolences of my senior pastor, Reverend Julian Kula, and the pastoral team at the Purpose Centered Church. I pray that you receive them. And in particularly to Anne and to Azelle, I pray that you'd be comforted, even as you receive love from quarters that you may not even know or have experienced, people that are strangers. May you receive comfort even in this season. I'll be here very shortly. I won't take too much time. I've put a few thoughts on my phone so that I can keep on track. But even as I start, a couple of things. One is when Kathy called me sometime, was it I think last week, and mentioned that she would like me to come and say and speak and share something here, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to share. I mean, we never are. You know, we preach for many years, go to many ceremonies, but each one is unique and individual. And I began to ask the Lord God to help me find the right words to share with you on this day. And, I always say the Spirit of God is one, and He speaks and moves in ways that we don't always understand. Because the words that were written up on the screen and this song are in exact sync with the few pointers that I put down. So I believe that the unity that is seen here is a testimony even to who Paul was and what he meant to each of us. So I'll be sharing very simply and very shortly on what I am calling doorways. Doorways. In the Holy Scriptures, there was one of the wisest men that lived many centuries ago that wrote these words down, and he said, "A good name is better than precious ointment, and the day of death is better than the one of birth." And sometimes that sentiment is difficult to understand, because when a child is born, everybody's rejoicing. Everybody is celebrating the birth of a newborn. But when one dies, when one departs, it's a day of grief, it's a day of mourning, it's a day of pain. Yet this wise man said, better is that day of death than the day one was born. And why would they say that? They would say that because the day of death brings you to a place where you reflect back on life. The life of the one that you have lost, but also your own life. We don't have too many moments. I think this past 2 years of struggling with the COVID pandemic has caused us to be more introspective about our lives than we ever have been before. We pastors talk about grief fatigue because we have buried many people. We've been to very many funerals, very many ceremonies of lives well lived. But the whole world seems to have had an excess portion of pain and grief in the past 2 years. And when he talks about better is the day of death, it simply means that it's a time to bring you to a point of reflection, to have a look at your own life, and to begin to ask the questions, how am I living? So birth is a door. It's a doorway. It's an entryway into a new world. It's an entryway into an existence that you have no idea how it's going to play out. You know, you may be given 1 day to play it out. You may be given 50 days. You may have 100 days years to play it out. But it's a life, an entryway into a life. But death is also a door. It's an exit. It's a leaving what you know, where you have lived. It's leaving the loved ones to go into a different place. It's an exit. So life then is lived between these two doors. And each of us have a life written between these two doors. It's a life well lived, it's a life that is loved, it's a story that's written on your own heart, it's a story that's written on the hearts of people. That's why I said that song was just really appropriate, because Paul's life is a story that has been written on every single one of your hearts. It's been written on Anne's heart, on their daughter's heart, on family members' hearts, on colleagues' hearts, on friends' hearts. And interestingly, because we do impact beyond those we know, it's a story that's been written on the hearts of strangers. Someone that he spoke to well as a waiter, an air hostess on a flight, a doctor in a hospital, a sweeper, a cleaner on the street. Every life that we touch will leave an imprint of who we are on them. And my worldview, the one that I hold on to, is between these two doors, there is a purpose to your life. None of us are here with no purpose. Many of us find it. Some struggle to ask, why am I here? And to figure out what they've been brought for. But just watching all those pictures that have just gone through that screen of Paul's life, he had great purpose to his life. He lived life to the full. He's been to places where many of us can only dream to go. He has seen things that many of us only see when we are watching a film, a movie, reading a book, or hearing somebody else's story. He lived a life and imprinted that life between those two doors. For each of us, eternity is a step away. It is coming out of the existence that we know and stepping into another existence. And that's what death is. Stepping away from where you are and going to another existence. And the question then for each of us is, how then do we live our lives on this side? Paul has run his race. He's lived his life. There's no do-over for him. He's lived it full. He's lived it richly. He's had a wife and a daughter, family and friends. He's lived his life. The question for us to ask is, in this place that's a step away from eternity, how are we living our lives? Will our death be celebrated? It's a hard thing to ask, but will our death be celebrated? As I said, in this season, we've got many stories to tell as pastors of people who've gone home. And yesterday I received a phone call of from a dear friend who lives in England, and she had just received word that her youngest sister, who lives in the US, had been missing for 4 days and had not been seen since the day after New Year's. And when they finally got the sheriff to open the door, she was in a house, but she had passed away. And they have no idea what could have taken a young woman who was healthy. But she had stepped through the door. She had gone through the door. Each of us. We don't know how, we don't know when, we don't know where. But what I want to encourage you here is that this season that we have, this slice of life that we have between these two doorways, is for us to live to the fullest of our potential, to impact people's lives, to touch people's lives, to be spoken of well when you're not there. You know, someone once said, I want to hear my eulogy when I'm still alive, so that people can speak about the things that I have done or who I mean to them while I'm here. It doesn't always happen, but we can live our lives between these two doors in a way that will touch and bless people. And I believe that's what happened in Paul's life, that he was able to live a life that caused people to be touched, to be loved, and to be blessed. As I wind down, I want to just say one or two things to shut us down in this season. Is when you figure out what your purpose is between these two doors, don't trade your role, the one role that only you can do while you're alive in this time. If you're called to be a friend, be a friend. Look for that person. If someone's name drops in your heart and in your mind, look for them. Don't just say, oh my gosh, I was thinking about so-and-so today. And then, you just move on. Call them. How are you doing? It's been a long while. It's been 10 years. But give them a call. If there's someone you need to look for and go ask for forgiveness, do so. Make it right with the people in your life. Come to the place where you say, I'm not going to carry baggage of unforgiveness, of bitterness, of pain, because the space between these two doors is too short. It's way too short. So make it right with people around you. If you have a family that you know talk to often, reach out. I remember there was an exercise I had in a conference I'd gone for, and people were asked to pick their phone and call their fathers and tell their fathers that they love them. Hey, Africans. You know, you look at the phone and you say, I pray he's busy. I pray there's no network. So, you know, because some things that should flow easily, we struggle with. And you know, so my dad picked up on the first call. I was thinking, today of all days, I'll pick on the first call. And Kathy's laughing loud at the back, because she knows my father, a real good Luo man. Don't go soppy on him, you know. And I said, Daddy, I'm only calling for one thing. Oh, what is it? What's the problem? Is there a problem? You know, he's going into action mode. What is the problem? I said, Daddy, I'm just going to tell you that I love you. And there was silence. And he calls all of us mommy. All us girls and my brothers, they're also called mommy. And he said, Mommy, I love you too. I had never heard my father say those words. I know he loves me. He's an African man. He doesn't have to say it, I know it. But he said it because I was brave enough to cross the barrier and to speak those words to him. So don't let there be anything that would make you lose out on the role that you are placed here to accomplish, of sister, of brother, of husband, of wife, of child, of friend, of colleague. That while you live between these two doors, by the time you walk out the second door, all your business will be finished. I pray that God's comfort and grace will be with you. I pray that his love would surround you. I pray that you would know his grace, which is more than sufficient. I pray that in your moments of lowness, of sorrow, of pain, that you remember that you knew Paul and you loved him and he loved you. May his grace be sufficient for you. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adiko Mondi. Paul's my friend for 29 good years now. I was just counting back from 1983 when we first met in school, and we've been friends till today. But first I want to pass my condolences and those of my dear wife who's come with me here, who's sitting there, Mary. You want to just stand and they could see you. Yeah, Mary's here with me. Mary's also a friend of Paul's. And I want to pass my condolences to first Anne and Giselle. And I say, may you stay well and may it be well with you. I know we are hurting. I'm hurting. You're probably hurting a lot more than I am. I mean, it was very difficult for me to come and stand here. And I can imagine how it is for you. And I also can imagine how it is for Paul's family, which has become part of my family in a very great way. When I'm standing here, I can see faces around the room who I can name by name and also who I can remember very vividly when I met the very first time Paul introduced me to them as our lives continued intertwining through. So when I first met Paul at the school, in Upper Hill School, where we were in 5th form and 6th form, the other people who were there with me with Gerald. Gerald, of course, was one of our classmates. There are many of them who are not here, but I'm sure they're watching online. And you've probably seen many pictures up there. Some of those pictures are very significant in terms of, if you look at what they're dressing in, you know, in those days we used to have a special set of dress for gentlemen who are above gentlemen, you know. So you'll see those jackets with some crisscrosses on the, you know, on the sleeves and all. So Paul was one of those gentlemen who actually picked out amongst the best of the best. He was a school prefect, and not just a school prefect, but a special one as well. Because if you look in our common room, there were some people who are rough on the edges, and there were those who carried what we called then pedo. Decorum. Paul carried both pedo and decorum, and also gentleness, you know. Paul would not bother about little things. Paul would say, Dick, man, leave it, man. I mean, so it's gone, it's gone. What is it going to do if you get involved with it? It's just going to affect you, you know. Let's move on, you know. Many times. And that's a very favorite phrase for Paul. Many times, not once, has he told me that the past is the past, let's focus on the future, you know. And that, I'm sure, my colleagues in school can also relate to that very well. Paul and I then went on to the university, and we went to university together, at the University of Nairobi, and we lived another very fulfilling life. I mean, if I were to stand here and tell you about the anecdotes in Paul's life, and my life, and his life in the university and his friends, we're probably going to be here all night. It's going to be a very long story. One of the things I wrote the other day, which was very special to me, is I said, look, if I were to start writing my own memoirs, I don't know which chapter would probably go without Paul being part of it. And I'll tell you why Paul would be part of that story. There are a couple of incidences which a couple of experiences I want to give you. You know, we used to earn something called boom in the university. We used to be paid money. So when we left, we paid money, and that money was neither here nor there because the fees was paid by the government. The parents take care of some of the stuff, and then we were left with 3,500 shillings or 3,700 in the pocket. And this money was given every time we went to school. There are 2-3 incidences where Paul and I received the money in the morning. We got the money in the morning, and then we walked out of school, and we walked straight to Muyu Avenue. There's a shop there called Nairobi Sports House. We bought ourselves brand new pairs of high-tech sneakers, identical ones. Then we walked away. When we went back, actually we put the old shoes in the boxes, and I don't know if we left them there or we carried them, but we wore the new ones and started shining up. From shining up, I think that night we hung out the whole night. On the following morning when we're going back to university, there's a famous place in Givenchy Gardens where we stopped by. Each of us ordered a full chicken and chips. We ate, then we went back to school to sleep. There were many, many more nights of those. Somewhere we transnighted, we never slept, but the most important thing is that we carried ourselves with decorum, and that decorum was very driven by my friend Paul. I mean, if I move on, you know, if you like, you know, friendship, great friendships are carried forward. In my adult life, Paul has been a significant part of this, and I'm going to take just a couple of minutes to talk about this. This young lady standing or sitting there is not just another young lady to Paul, but a very special person. I think you must have seen some of the pictures were standing there. You would have probably seen some two gentlemen standing in dapper suits. That was Paul and I on the day of my wedding, which was on the 5th of April, 1997. I hope a gun is not being pointed at me for missing the date. but he agreed to stand by me when I asked for a hand, you know? That's how good friends we were with Paul. And I know Gerald was, when he posted these pictures the other day when Paul passed, I remember my friend Gerald commenting and saying, oh, he even looks dapper than you, man. It's amazing that Mary actually stayed on your side after you saw all the pictures. So, you know, when I saw the other words that were put up there and said, you know, I'm grieving, but Paul says it is well, you know. I'm grieving and I'm trying to cross the bridge between Paul's passing and Paul being there. And I'm sure a lot of you also have got the same thing in their heads and in their minds going. But I only saw Paul the other day and I haven't seen him in death, you know. So that thing is, I'm struggling with that. My wife and I have struggled with that for a long time. I mean, Mary has asked me many questions about Paul passing. Say, hey, but what, I mean, when we saw him last, this is what was going on. Well, I saw this, but I didn't talk to him about it. How come he never told us, you know? Can we, you know, what is it? If we knew, what would we have done differently to stall his death? But I told my wife, look, you know, you are struggling with things in your mind for Paul, you know? Paul is gone, and Paul said, I'm in a good place, and Paul said to his sister, I think a conversation between me and Gerald, Joe said that Paul said to Kathy, I'm at peace when he was in hospital. I said to her, let's take this as our parting shot with Paul. Let's not mourn for him and try to put things for him. That was Paul. He would let things that are gone by go by, and he would pick up things that are going forward. I mean, and I must say that it's been a good journey. It's been a lifelong journey. 29 years ain't a very short time in life. Some people have been born. They have given birth to others, and probably some of them are grandfathers in those 29 years, you know. So, but my real big thing is that I've enjoyed my friendship with Paul. I'm sure a lot of my friends have enjoyed their friendship with Paul. We've played sports together. We have tuned girls together. We have drunk together. We have celebrated together. We have trans-nighted together. He's been one of those guys in my life and in our lives as friends who has actually been the leading light. There are many, many things that I would not have done, and I'm sure Gerald will say the same things. My friend Paul Ogindo, Tom Ogindo, Rufus Eshuchi, Ocholi, Odera Karoli, I'm just remembering the names from school. These guys will say exactly the same things. We would sit there sometimes and look at what Paul is doing and say, well, I think we wish we were like him, you know? So I just want to say to my friend Paul, it is well, and go well, and I know you're not gone. You're still with us, and you will be with us for a long time, and a very long time to come. I will now go back to my son, or to our son, who had dinner with Paul when he was here last in March at our house. And then when I asked him, so what was the interaction with Paul when he was here? I think Mary probably says it better, but he says, Dad, you know, I served him whiskey. He asked me to serve him whiskey. And then when I served him whiskey, he showed me what I should do with it. So I remember that Paul got 2 shots of whiskey and enjoyed it. And then he asked him to serve it with ice. And he served it with ice, and then he gave it to Paul. And that is Paul. The last time when we saw him, we had dinner together. It was my wife's birthday at Muthaga Country Club. So when he walked, it was a surprise birthday party. So Paul came. So when he walked in, and this is what gave away our surprise, because we were late as usual, the African style of getting things done. So when he went to the club, we didn't tell Paul exactly where to go. So Paul went and stuck himself right in the middle of the counter at the bar, you know. So as he walked in, my wife saw Paul and said, what is Paul doing here? You know, is that not Paul? Well, I said, well, Paul probably just came for a drink. So he's just having a drink with somebody else. And indeed, we passed him we said hello to him and then we passed him and we left him right there. So indeed, she believed that actually maybe he was just there for a drink. So when he walked into the room and he saw that, I said, yeah, now you playing around with my mind, you know. But we had a good time with Paul, and then after that we broke up and we went home and that. But I mean, the memories that we have of Paul as a family are those memories of a great guy who would always say, don't take it too seriously. Life is too good ahead, and even if it was wrong, it is gone, you know. Leave it behind. So I just want to say thank you to God, and thank you to Paul's mom and Paul's family for letting us have a share in his life. Uncle David is here. Uncle David is a great friend of mine because of Paul. We've done many things with Uncle David. Yeah? So when it comes to that, I also know Paul. But I want to tell you, that's one little thing I want to tell you about Paul again, just before I leave, is how intertwined Paul came into my family. When my nephew was getting married, in Cumberland, so we were negotiating for the dowry. And Mr. Omondi, being the elder, was the chief of negotiation for my nephew Chris. So we went for the first negotiation in Company, and it became, a deadlock. When it became a deadlock, the guys were demanding mbuzies, and they want this, Ndungi, all these things, you know? Yeah, Ndungi. Yeah. So, we came back to Nairobi, and then we had to go back. But between the time we came and the time we go back, we had to find a way of breaking the deadlock. So I thought to myself, what do I do? Then I remembered, Paul is there, Paul is cow. These guys are cow. So I set up a meeting with Mr. Mwema in Machakos. So when I set up a meeting with Mwema in Machakos, we went back to his house and we sat with my friend Paul. So I started asking the questions of what is it can we do differently, and his family, the family of the lady was there, all of them. So when they came and they started negotiating between themselves, they would switch lingua and they would negotiate in Kao, they talk in Kao, then they come back and tell me now in English as well. My friend Paul was not called Wambua, he was just called Paul. So by the time they finished and talked in Kao and finished all the secrets, we gathered them, we go out with Paul, Paul tells me, this is what they're saying, blah, 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 blah. And I come back, I'm like, oh yeah, now like this, like that, like that. Well, the rest is history. We managed to break it up. And I told him the story after the marriage was done. I told him this was the guy who actually broke the deadlock. So that's how close friends we were with Paul. And I really cherish Paul's life, and I'll live for making sure that what he stood for continues. Anna Nizel, the family, we are here. And we're here for you whenever anything comes up, whenever anything needs help, we're here. Thank you very much, and God bless your souls, and it is well with Paul's soul. He's at peace, and he's in a good place. We shall all join him soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dikomondi, for the lovely anecdotes. I can relate to many of those. We thank God for the Wambua family for the gift that was Paul. Next, may I please invite Anne Wairimu, who is a colleague of Paul's at the UN, to give us a small reading about his work life at the UN. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Anne, and Paul was my colleague. I'm going to read a tribute from myself and my colleagues. I would not have imagined that a day like this would come where we would have to read a tribute on behalf of Paul. So to Anne and Ezo and the entire Wambua family, we, the UN Habitat colleagues of late Paul Wambua, send our heartfelt condolences to your family on the loss of your husband, father, son, brother, and friend. We know that your loss is huge, and we can only imagine the pain that you feel knowing how much he meant to you. No comfort is quite enough to replace the loss of a loved one, but we must understand that death is a journey we all must make someday. As you move through the process of healing, may you find reconciliation, recollection of your beloved bring you relief. Death leaves a heartache no one can heal. Love leaves a memory no one can steal. Therefore, may you find comfort and peace in the thought of the joy that Paul brought in your and our lives. Please accept our sincere condolences and our kind prayer for your healthy renewal from UN Habitat colleagues of late Paul Wambua. I also have a tribute. Not really a tribute, but it's on the work life of Paul at the UN. I think I'll need to put on my glasses. I'm struggling to. It just tells you that I'm also a senior citizen. Paul joined the UN as an intern in UNEP's Division of Policy, Development and Laws, NGO Civil Society Unit from Feb to May 2002. During his internship, he undertook research on policy issues while doing his master's at the University of Nairobi. He did an MA in International Studies. Paul worked as a consultant for the Partners and Youth section of UN Habitat from September 2003 to August 2006. His role was to promote and strengthen engagements within UN Habitat sections and programs, and also with other internal partners such as CSOs and NGOs, ensuring new relationships, collaborations, and partnerships. During that time, he also had liaison functions with City Council of Nairobi for the organization of stakeholder meetings of Nairobi One-Stop Youth Centers Task Force, as well as Mayor's high-level advisory panel. Paul was instrumental in developing one-stop youth centers in various localities within Kenya and abroad. Paul worked as a national program officer in the Youth and Partners Unit from September 2006 to the time that he took early retirement in May 2017. As part of his liaison functions, he also coordinated various stakeholder meetings with key stakeholders and implementing partners of UN Habitat, such as local government, City Council of Nairobi among them, to address the running of the one-stop youth centers and other programmatic issues. He contributed to the successful representation of youth and UN Habitat in various global meetings around the world. Paul had a very good working relationship with his colleagues and partners of UN Habitat. He had good communication skills and interacted very well with colleagues from various levels and backgrounds. Paul was generous to a fault. He always invited his colleagues for lunch at Village Market and his favorite joint gypsies. He was very social and always made new friends in the office. So much has been said about Paul, but what stood out from the tributes that were sent by his colleagues was that Paul was the classy and perfect gentleman, always dressed smartly to the office. He did not compromise on quality when it came to his dress sense and choice of cars. He was referred to as the perfect gentleman. He had a good sense of humor, and Paul was the guy who never forgot his colleagues' birthdays. If he knew about it, that called for a celebration. Paul was an easy guy, the cool guy, ever smiling. One called him the smiling machine. took things easy, no stress. You were that person anyone could talk to about anything under the sun. You are not only a colleague, but a good friend to many. He will forever be missed, as he not only contributed to UN Habitat, but to humanity as a whole. One Antoine de Saint said, "There is nothing that can equal the treasure of so many shared memories." We all have so many memories of Paul that we will never ever forget him. Rest in peace, our dear colleague and friend, UN Habitat colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anne-Marie, for the wonderful tribute from Paul's colleagues at the UN. Next, we shall be having a Zoom link from Mutinta Munyata, Paul's former colleague at the UN, who's going to read a tribute that was sent by Paul's former boss at the UN by the name Ananta Krishnan. So, Mutinta, you're next. You're the one on the top right. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to read a tribute from Ananta Krishnan. He was the head of Partners and Youth Section. He was our boss, but also he was the boss of the Three Musketeers, Paul, Mutinta, and Esther Mzila. Tribute by Ananta Krishnan. One of Albert Einstein saying alluded that the value of a person should be seen in what he or she gives and not what he or she is able to receive. In one word, Paul Wambua was a man who gave. He gave much to his work. He meant a lot to the youth program at UN Habitat, which became a shining example in the UN Habitat context. To us colleagues, and he was like a family. His physical presence is gone, but his contribution will be remembered for many, many years to come. Paul was a popular and highly engaged, creative, and innovative colleague, always ready to provide advice and support. He was a blessing to the then newly started youth program at UN Habitat. He also became a close friend of mine. Paul had an extensive knowledge on a wide variety of subjects, including civil society, capacity building, human rights, youth development, and policy analysis. He was part of the team in 2010 that prepared the first step of the Urban Youth Report, leveling the playing field. He contributed to its content as well as its design and layout. He was very concerned with the inequality of opportunities for young people in Africa as well as globally. He worked closely with youth in support of hopefulness, thereby helping to level the playing field. For example, in setting up the One Stop Youth Center, a flagship youth initiative of UN Habitat in Nairobi in particular. In a lighter vein, I can also remember and mention that for Paul, as an expert of golf and an expert golf player, leveling the playing field was a concept which was well known to him anyway. Being passionate about youth empowerment and youth-led initiatives, Paul also participated in developing the Urban Youth Fund. He inspired people with his creativity. When I left Nairobi, he gave me a beautiful drawing that I have put on the wall of Oslo, in my Oslo home. It is so dear to me. Paul was not just a brilliant colleague, he was also a close companion that I enjoyed being with. To share a meal, reflect on people, politics, and society. His smile always reflected a positive outlook, a genuine smile that helped to build connections, solve conflict, displayed competence, qualities that secured better outcomes throughout his life. I will miss him, we all missed him. Ultimately, death of Paul has taken away a genuinely warm, peace-loving individual, more importantly, a loving husband, father, and deprived so many others, including me, of a good friend. This particular time, this is This is particularly difficult and painful time for his family. In extending to them my heartfelt condolences, I wish them courage and strength to bear this irreparable loss. Love, Krishnan. End of tribute. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mutinta. Next we shall have Abdi Mohammed, who was one of the beneficiaries of the youth program at the UN Habitat.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I want to make a very brief tribute to my friend, Paul Wambua. And I would like to introduce how we met and how we engaged each other. I first came across Paul Wambua in about 2006, having spent some 3 years as a volunteer of a youth-led group organization based in Korogocho, Nairobi, which taught me it was better to give more time and effort as a youth development worker. I therefore decided to take a new exciting challenge with youth empowerment. I came up with a concept and idea on a digital center and decided to share with another close friend called Harrison Kwach, who happened to work with Paul Wambua. Harrison quickly liked the idea and shared it with Paul and other team members at UN Habitat Youth section. And that's how I came to know about him. Paul constantly sought to improve the lives of young men and women, as if by fate, my initial encounter with Paul, he narrated and gave me a background of his youthful life, interesting stories including how he joined NYS. From his youthful chronicles, I realized that this gentleman possessed a strong passion and goodwill to uplift youth, to uplift young men and women, and was ready to give it all, and to ensure that young people, especially from the slum areas, were genuinely empowered until they were set to take meaningful steps in life. And as the best fate will have it, his position at UN Habitat Youth and Section, Youth and Partner Section said it all. ICT was remarkably close to his heart, and he made sure that youth-related projects were priority at his workstation. And immediately after receiving my concept, he mobilized his team to visit one of the youth centers in Korogocho called the Town Youth Center for a need assessment mission. This was now my first encounter with Paul, the gentleman. He was very jovial and a very happy man. After a brief introduction, I took them for a walk on the main street of Korogocho. While there, he noticed some nice chapatis that were being cooked by a street vendor, and he loudly shouted to his team about the chapatis, and gave out a 50 shilling note and bought few of them and shared them to some kids around there. I could see him eat one with great confidence and without much worries. And that, one would be mistaken to believe then that Paul had lived in Korogocho for so many other years. Guess what? This made me to discover the other side of Paul when it comes to humbleness and easiness. Once more, these personal qualities of Paul had a significant impact on me. Paul had a love for his work and passion, and was accomplished behind the scene technical person. I remember he's a man of few words, but with huge ideas and wisdom. He gave me a tremendous support, and together we established the first digital village under the Ministry of ICT in Kenya in 2008. And as a result, it made a huge impact on the lives of so many young people in Korogocho and its environs. Many young people sought Paul's advice, which he willingly gave, and had always that twinkle in his eye when he suggested something valuable. In 2010, I discussed with him on another idea of a housing project and sought his support and encouragement and he encouraged us to pursue to the latter. He later supported me to lobby for financial support from UN Habitat, and luckily this was the first funding received for the project, which was aimed at training the youth on construction skills. And this boosted the project efforts and impacted on 30 young people receiving construction-related courses, some of them who are currently helping with the building tasks at the construction site where I'm just sitting right now. In the years that followed, he also played another role to help identify suitable land for the housing development for the poor families. And I remember very well, he introduced me to one of his friends in Syokimau. But unfortunately, the land deal there could not materialize. Until his recent demise, Paul has been a big cheerleader of the ongoing housing project. And when I spoke to him last October, he was upbeat that he wanted to get more involved with the project when he returns to Kenya. His numerous charitable and professional activities were all pursued out of great interest basis because of his love of the community and his real and deep interest in humanity, coupled with his concern and wish to make a real difference to the poverty and misery in many countries around the world. One of the great pleasures I have experienced as a result of interaction was his passion for humanity, and that remains unmatched. During the official meeting with him at his working desk next to a big glass windows, which was marvelous with sunlight, he would sit quietly as was his type, but with real presence. As I sat next to him and hear his wisdom and wise words on topical issues of interest, and at the end of the meeting, I will come out very motivated and energetic and ready to work hard and support young people as he always encouraged us to do. On Monday, 21st December, I had sent him an email to thank him for the wonderful support of our project and to wish him happy holidays. I tried to reach out to him the following day for a call, and later received a message that he has been taken critically ill. And the saddest of the news, that he had not recovered and passed away a day later. It hit me hard, very devastating indeed. In my journey of youth empowerment and community projects, I had a good luck that Paul stood by me and we made a very desirable impact and benefited so many other people, especially young people. In the next few weeks, we are planning to plant trees in honor and in memory of Paul Wambua, and hopefully you shall join us in this activity. His influence on the life of his friends, including me, has been explained by others in his circles. Enough to say that nearly every turn's Paul precedence and impact have been felt by me, as it has been most by most of his friends, whether they know it or not. With the passing of Paul, a bright light has gone out. It has lit a fire that burns on a global basis and remains a beacon of hope. Paul was cautious and rarely got upset. To his wife, Anne, Ezel, family members and friends, he gave of himself to all. Paul belonged to all of us. We rejoice and we are grateful for his wonderful time on this earth. He remains forever in our hearts. Thank you to Anne, to his Anne, wife and friends and relatives for looking after him when we were not there to stand with him. We offer our condolences to you all, and I quote, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow him all the days, and he shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever." Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Abdi, for a very comprehensive and wonderful tributes. As Paul would say, excellent. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Mutinda Mutuku, who will speak on behalf of his friends. Thank you.
Good afternoon, all. Let me start by giving my condolences to the Wambua family, to Anne and Isel, on this sad moment. I know Paul would have wished that we are all celebrating, but it can be a bit hard when, like me, I've known him since I was 5 years old, and he was I can't find the words to describe Paul, but I can give an example of Paul's effect on people, because just last night a friend of mine called from Norway, and when I told him about Paul's passing, he started reminiscing about Paul. Now the thing with him that they had met only 3 times, and in fact he was telling me that Paul had this ability to connect with people, because he told me that how they had connected on just the first meeting, when because he had come to see me, and I think Paul happened to be there, and that I think was one of Paul's strongest traits, especially amongst friends, was the fact that it didn't take long for Paul and someone to connect and go forward as friends. I'm challenged to think of anyone who can call himself or call Paul his enemy. I don't believe Paul really offended anyone, because he was not that type of person. As I think Omondi Dick said earlier, he was someone to let things go. And that's another trait of Paul's, was to give me advice that most often was good advice, but to some of us who are hard-headed, we would ignore him, and but he'd never come back and say, I told you. But we could see it in his eyes that yes, you should have listened to me, because he was truly a very wise man. I think wiser than his years. And another trait I can think of is that Paul was always there for his friends. There's no moment I can recollect, for example, in my experience, where if I needed Paul's advice, or just to talk things through or whatever, Paul was always there. He'd tell you, let's meet at Gypsy's, his favorite bar, or if where you could come to where you are. But that I think, to me, that was his most endearing quality as a friend. He was always available. And Paul espoused the virtue of enjoying life and making the most of your life. In fact, it's through his encouragement that we started traveling to around the world. We're going to watch Formula 1 races, because he told there's no point. You'll come and don't say you're not at how you're going to pay the school fees. Let's go, then we'll come back. We'll come back and we'll sort it out. But because he said you need to travel, and that's basically how we started. We had a plan for going to what is from now called the Paddock Club, which is basically where you can now mingle with all the drivers and what have you. But that cost an arm and a leg. But we said we were determined that one day we shall do this. And well, unfortunately, he has left me now I shall do it. in his memory. That I promise him as my friend. And beyond that, let me just say, he'll be missed dearly by all, me inclusive. And I'm sure the family will miss him more. With those few words, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mutinda, for your tribute on behalf of his friends. That was just basically simply Paul, okay? Always willing to listen, always giving good advice, unsolicited. He never solicited. But we would ask him that if you don't listen to him, he would not make or give you beef out of it. So that concludes the first part, which is just the essence that was Paul. So we have picked up on his work life, his friends, and his school life, and those of his very close friends, both Dick, I, Mutinda, and many others whom he's known from childhood. And I'm very proud that I'm seeing on the WhatsApp group those who are there are the genuine, close friends of Paul, colleagues, family, and friends. There are those who are squatting there, like we are flies on the wall, but they soon left because they realized they could not contribute anything. So when my friend was panicking, general people are leaving the group and not even saying anything, I said, well, I did not share the link with them. This thing went viral. Some people shared this thing and posted it all up there. So I started seeing people leaving, and I know one lady, and I was like, my goodness, she does not know Paul. I know that. So I'll give her a call soon, but anyway. So we'll have the next, there'll be a song, See You Again, by Charlie Puth. Thereafter, we shall continue now with tributes from Hayden. I will read on behalf of Anne's family, the Thompsons, and we shall continue from there. Thank you.
Grammar and spelling are important, but if you want to write essays that inspire,
it's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. Why'd you have to leave so soon? Why'd you have to go? Why'd you have to leave me when I needed you the most? 'Cause I don't really know how to tell you without feeling much worse. I know you're in a better place, but it's always gonna hurt. Carry on. Give me all the strength I need to carry on. It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. How do I breathe without you? Feeling so cold. I'll be waiting right here for you till the day you're home. Carry on. Give me all the strength I need to carry on. So let the light guide your way. Hold every memory as you go, and every road you take
Thank you very much, family and friends. The next speaker we have is Hayden Bixby, who's a very, very old friend of ours from the University of Nairobi days. They came as a group from the University of California exchange program at the University of Nairobi. And I'm proud to say that among Hayden and several others, we have remained very fast friends. She was due to come on the 21st of this month. She does have a charitable project that she's carrying out here in Kenya with Shura. It's an orphanage, and she's been able to fundraise and nurture a group of young children from when they were very young and they're adults today. So she comes about 2-3 times a year, and each time she comes, she looks for Paul and I among many other friends. And we always have a drink at Gypsies or anywhere else, and she wants to know what's going on in our lives. And she's one among a few of the ladies that we knew from the university days who have always kept in touch with us. Hayden, you're next. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerald. Good afternoon, beautiful people. It's morning where I am, and I'm so grateful that technology allows me to be here with you. I'm Hayden, and Paul was my friend. I know he was yours too. In preparation for today, I sat down to really think about our friend, the wonderful man that was Paul Wambua. I realized that we don't often really think about our friends. That is to say, while they're an active part of our lives, we don't need to ruminate on who they are or who they've been to us. They just are. But once they aren't, once they're not with us, we get the opportunity and the privilege, amidst our grief, to focus our attention and reflect not only on who they were, but who we are because we knew them. Like all of you, I have been one of the lucky ones. Paul Wambua knocked on the door of my room at the University of Nairobi Women's Dorm number 12 in 1988, and my life was forever changed. I was blessed with more than 3 decades of his friendship, encouragement, and of course, book and movie recommendations. When I think of Paul at any age, his smiling image is always set to music. In the early days, he was a young student artist, grooving to Grover Washington Jr. and Bill Withers, while screen printing his designs onto swaths of fabric, or jumping up to dance at Carnivore or Bubbles when Bobby Brown or Tony came on. Life then was DeBarge's I Like It by day and Guy's I Like by night. He knew how to savor all of it. He was good at savoring more than music even then. He knew that there was nothing better in the wee hours than extra salt on a half chicken and chips, wrapped in yesterday's newspaper, or enjoying it on a downtown sidewalk while waiting for the sun to rise. He was better than anyone at savoring an all-night hang, even when he brought his little sister Ruth along, just to be sure she was spending those wee hours with people who met his big brother's standards. He was young and ambitious and free, but he kept his family front and center too. As he met Anne and went on to create his own beautiful family with her and Iselle, he loved his grown-up status as a true and devoted family man who found his greatest joy in watching the relationship between his 2 favorite women flourish. In fact, adult Paul was just as good at finding joy as he had been in the university days, though now he focused on finding it during the more reasonable daylight hours. He'd still savor his cold pilsners, and he could be counted on to convince you that a long leisurely lunch at Village Market was precisely the thing you needed to do today, no matter what else was on your calendar. After one of those lunches several years ago, Paul confessed to me that he had been thinking about getting a tattoo, and that that day, was the day he was going to go through with it. Sitting with him in that tattoo shop in Yaya Center, I watched him meticulously select precisely the right font with special attention to the Z. The Z was very important, as he nudged the designer to create exactly what he wanted. As Paul prepared to ink his daughter's name into the skin of his forearm, he embodied both the young artist I remembered from decades prior and the devoted father and husband that he had become in the intervening years. His love was permanent and beautiful, and he wanted to wear it, if not exactly on his sleeve, at least just under it. The last time I saw Paul in person in 2018, my partner Greg and I had come to Vietnam to celebrate my 50th birthday. And we had plans to have a special dinner together with Paul, Anne, and Iselle later in the week. Paul knew we had arrived at our hotel though, and since he was by then retired and living as a self-proclaimed international man of leisure, he decided to stop by. I was sitting by the pool and I looked up. There was Paul sauntering over to once again knock on my door, ready to see what the next 30 years of friendship might bring. I so wish we could have had more time. I don't know where he is now, but I know whatever he's doing is set to music. Maybe he's getting ready to take a photo of his bare feet on a beach before settling in with a book and a beer. I hope so. He was our friend, and we are better for having known him. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hayden, for a wonderful tribute. I don't know how many of you can count maintaining friendships with the other gender since college days. How many of you are in touch with? Paul and I kept this kind of friendships. Male, female, long friendships. Thank you very much. Next, I'll read the tribute from Paul's in-laws, the Thompson family in Canada. Greetings from Paul's Canadian family. We want to thank the United Nations International School of Hanoi, along with Anne's colleagues, for being there to support our loved ones, Anne and Iselle, when we could not be there during this difficult time, losing their husband and father. Paul joined a very big family of Canadians, with a lot of unique personalities. He was able to charm his way in and become one of those unique personalities. We all know that Paul hated the cold, but he would brave the snowy days in Canada during the Christmas season. What's happening? Anyway. He could never understand why we like to walk and toboggan in the snow. Thank you. But he braved it for his family. His wit and dry sense of humor, along with his big smile, will be missed by all of us. You will forever be mentioned, you will forever be remembered by the family for your intellect, your humor, choice of music, and lack of golf game. Thank you. You got it, okay. Thank you for bringing your culture and love across the world to our doorstep. You made our already large family international. May you rest in peace, Paul, knowing that your family will be supported and loved by those remaining behind. Love your Canadian family. Thank you very much to the Thompsons. That was a wonderful tribute. Next, we'll now move to the family. The other part of the family. We'll have the next speaker giving a tribute on behalf of the Wambua family. That will be Bob Kyoko. Thank you very much.
I have been given the privilege to say a few words on behalf of the family, both immediate and extended, about our Paul. brother, cousin, uncle, friend. In the words from the song, Seasons of Love, from the Broadway musical Rent, a poignant question is raised. How do you measure the life of a man? Beyond the filial bonds, where Paul has been a rock for the family, always solid, dependable, reliable in all seasons, to being an inspiration in his example, his conduct, and not to mention his effortless panache that has been referred to by quite a few. Paul has lived truly. We are all witnesses to his amazing love for his dear wife and partner in life, Anne, and to his pride, really, I don't know if you call it pride or adoration, of his daughter, his beautiful daughter, Iselle. Beyond that, Paul was and is a man of many facets, many talents. Music aficionado, amazing artist, photographer, entrepreneur, social justice worker, book critic, avid golfer, globetrotter. The list continues. Paul was a truly wonderful and remarkable human being, and we are all blessed to know, to love him, and to share a little time with him. Paul effortlessly was also a friend to many, young and old, no matter your station. He was also a mentor, a confidant. These are the words we've all heard and thought of repeatedly from his family, whether by blood or by friendship, because we know quite a few of those. However, in keeping with Paul's own disdain for long-windedness, I tried to find a few words that would capture the essence of who he was to us and to me. While Paul may not have practiced religion in the sense many of us may do or many may do, I remembered the words written by another man who shared the same name with our Paul. In his letter to the Corinthians, that's 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 to 7, I read, "Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails." For me, this rings true of Paul Muyu Wambua, the essence and epitome of love for family, his wife, his daughter, his dad, his mom, his brother, his sisters, his cousins, his nieces, his nephews, and all those who became his family through friendship. So, in answer to the question, how do you measure the life of a man? I turn back to song, a medium so beloved of Paul. I referred to the same song I referred to when I began, Seasons of Love. How do you measure the life of a man? It says, in daylights, in sunsets, in midnights, in cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, in laughter. But how about love? How about love? Okay, to Anne and Iselle, our brother Paul may be gone, and we are unable to fill that void. But as a family, we are here for you. You are our family. And in the words of Colleen Cora Hitchcock in the poem Ascension, and if I go, while you're still here, know that I live on, vibrating to a different measure, behind a thin veil you cannot see through. You will not see me.
Thank you very much, Bob. Next, we shall have another family member to give a tribute on behalf of Paul's mother, Esther Kasule Wambua. This will be given by an uncle of Paul Wambua's by the name David Wambua. Karibu.
Thank you. God is good all the time. And even when we lose our son, God is still good. Even when the Zoka family, Wambua family, you lose your sister and your brother, and your nephew and your niece, God is still good. So he should be glorified. I stand here on behalf of Paul's mother, Esther Kasule Wambua, because she was not able to come to attend due to poor health and age. So I would request the Wambua family and the Zoka family who are present here to stand on, just to stand on remembrance of our brother and sister, brother Paul. They are all here, many. All those are part of the Nzoka. Paul comes from Wambua, whose father was Aaron Nzoka. That's why you hear me refer to Nzoka. Those are the people who came. It's a very big family. The people who came to represent. So kindly sit down. As I talk about, on behalf of the mother, I would like you to imagine the loss of a child to a mother. It is painful. It is painful, and a parent is likely to ask herself, particularly at her age, why her? Why her son? But then those questions can only be answered by God, and we take what we get because we do not know why. But again, if you ask ourselves, if it were not Paul, who else would you have wanted to go? Because we love our siblings, our brothers and sisters. So we take it. We will take what God gave us and accept that was God's will. So us as a family and on behalf of the mother, we release him. We release him to go. We release him as of the friends. I recognize that Paul had wonderful friends. And as a mother, I don't think even she imagines that Paul had such good friends. But now that you have shown us, he has shown us his friends. And as we say, show me your friends, and I will know what kind of a person you are. A person you are. Because what you have said duplicates what I know about Paul. He has been a very generous person. I stayed with him when I was a young man in their home. And I remember he offered his bed to me. So for the long time that I stayed in their family, in their home, I used his bed. Then he moved to share with his elder brother, Jeff. So he was that kind of a person. We release him and we request his family and the daughter, when they are done with wherever they are, us as the bigger Zoka family, we are ready to accept them home and live with them. Because we recognize that they are our people, so they are welcome. When they are done with work, they are very much welcome. So I think I will end there. And thank you very much Paul's friends for standing with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Uncle David. That was Uncle David who was giving a tribute on behalf of Paul's mother, Mama Esther Kasule Wambua. Next, I would like to invite Paul's youngest sister, Kathy Wambua, to just say a few words, and then finally welcome Anne, the wife, and Thompson Wambua, and Isel to make their final tribute. Thank you.
I feel blessed to have known Paul. I feel blessed because Paul was my brother. And I feel blessed because he brought all these wonderful people into our lives. So many people, so many of you called him brother. And in many ways, I made, I got brothers and sisters from another mother. So thank you. Paul was the coolest guy ever. And I used to think his friends were so cool. I just wanted to, hang around the corner and just watch these guys, especially from campus. Sit around, watch movies. Ruth used to hang out with them quite a bit. I was quite jealous. I was the youngest. The child that is seen not heard. But I feel blessed. I feel blessed. Extremely blessed. And over the years, as Pastor Jackie had mentioned that it's been tough. And the last couple of years, we've lost many people, many. And I never imagined that we'd be here talking about Paul. And I know it's happened to you because I know you've lost others. As I had to break the news to people, to friends, to family, many of them would say, what? What do you mean? I remember the last time I spoke with him. We talked about, we said, we did. Isn't that what happened to you? It happened to me too. And I kept wondering, and you try and remember the last encounter. And sometimes those encounters are beautiful. And unfortunately, sometimes those encounters are not so beautiful. In fact, they're riddled with guilt. Because in your mind, you're saying, I should have called. I should have told my loved one that I loved them. I should have hung out with them a little more. I should have told them, thank you for that beautiful idea, or thank you for standing with me. And then there are times when you're just like, so-and-so hurt me. I don't want to feel sorry because now they're gone, But still, there's something within your heart. You were already connected. There's something within your heart you need to let go. As a member of the family, I just want to... I know Mutinda said Paul could not offend anyone. And I want to believe that. I want to believe that. But Paul wasn't perfect. And so as a member of the family, I just want to ask you, if in your heart, for sure, if he offended you, if you feel something, some kind of way that he did to you, trust me, I beg you, let go. Forgive him. There's nothing as bad as holding on to unforgiveness. Let go. Let go. You will do yourself a lot of favors. And not just Paul, and many who've gone along the way. Let go. And if you had a debt to Paul in any way whatsoever, you knew there was something you were supposed to do it. Trust me, you don't want to go the next couple of years living in guilt, because every time you will think of Paul, you'll be saying, oh man, I should have, I could have, why didn't I? Let go. Fulfill your debt. It sounds harsh, but it needs to be said, because you need to safeguard yourself. You need to safeguard yourself. To let go of Paul's debt, don't come look for me. I'm only the sister. Don't look for Ruth or Jeff. Oh, hell no. No. Go to Anne, his wife. Go to Isel. Those are the people you need to fulfill that debt to. Whatever it was that you had pledged, or whatever it is that you were supposed to do. Let go. Do it. And you will feel better for it. And you shall mourn in peace. You know, right now, I don't know, you're crying, but maybe you're crying out of guilt, eh? So we're all saying, oh, he loved him. But really, it's guilt that's riddling your heart. But Paul was loved. And I'm so blessed to have each and every one of you in my life because of him. My cool brother. Doesn't he look cool? My cool brother. One day, I aspire for that coolness too. And I would love to just ask, I sent my polis to Anne and Isel, and he loved them. What? He loved them with all his heart. And so I just want to ask, at this point, I introduce my sister-in-law to you, if you don't know her, and ask for Anne and Isel to just log in and give us their tribute. And as the sound guy looks for them, let me just say, Anne and Isel, we love you and we are here for you, no matter what. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. My daughter's going to go first, Isel, so I'll let her go first. I learned the other day that I was conceived in Cuba. Definitely TMI. Okay, I learned the other day that I was conceived in Cuba. Definitely TMI, Mom. But I am my father's daughter, and he will always be a part of me. From our shared passion of fine arts and love for music to the stubbornness I feel when someone tells me I'm wrong. These traits will always be woven in the fabric of my being, and I couldn't be happier that I got to call him my father. They say when most people are about to leave us for the other side of life, they feel a sense of readiness, like they're wrapped in a Mother Nature's warm embrace, or like a baby in the womb, safe and loved, a sense of comfort, a sense of completion, a sense of peace. People are often well aware of what's coming next and can hold on for something significant to happen before letting go, like waiting for your daughter to get to the hospital so she can hold your hand in your final moments. When faced with the harsh reality, grief can be excruciating. The finality of death is its scariest attribute, but in death I find myself remembering the life and experiences that my father gave me. These experiences reaffirm the brevity of life and give me the courage to experience all I can in the short amount of time we have on this earth. There were so many beautiful things in Dad's life. Shared experiences, a child, pets, lovers, and friends. Truly a life worth living, a life well spent. The earth will keep spinning, the birds will keep chirping, the seasons will still change, but he will live on forever in warm memories. Good job. I'm going to try my very best to go get through this. Isel might have to help me from time to time. When Paul and I first met, it was very cliche because we met in a bar called Gypsies. I had only been in the country for about 1 month. We were introduced by his friend DeWitt, and it was attraction at first sight. He was tall and nice looking, cool and easygoing, but it was definitely his smile and dimples and his quick to laugh personality that got me hooked. The funny thing is that we almost never happened. He knew the Laredo neighborhood that I moved into, and he dropped by the next day to say hello. And my Ascari told him that I wasn't home and that my husband would be joining me soon. To this day, we don't know why the guard gave him that message, whether it was because I was alone in a big house and he assumed someone else might be joining, or he was trying to protect me from some strange guy. I never heard from Paul and was a bit sorry because we had hit it off so well. After about 2 to 3 weeks, I came to find out that Paul thought I was married, and being the gentleman that he was, he decided not to pursue the relationship further. The next time I saw Paul in Gypsies, he was with another woman, and me, not wanting to leave the misunderstanding unresolved, I waited until she went to the bathroom, and I walked up to him and said hello, and I said, by the way, I'm not married, and I walked away. I had delivered the proverbial ball into his court, and so the dating game began when he called me the next day. Within the first few months of knowing Paul, we had some great adventures with his friends. He and his friend were taking part in the Nairobi to Naivasha running relay event, and I served as the support vehicle. However, I must say I was a little surprised when they spent more time in the vehicle with a cold beer than actually running. And then there was the whitewater rafting on the Tana River, and this is how I learned he didn't really know how to swim. No fear, just laughter and fun. After about 6 months, we moved in together and the adventures continued. Our first Christmas together, we traveled with my sister Mary. We were camping in Amboseli and woke up one night to find an elephant breaking into our truck right beside our tent. He enjoyed showing me parts of Kenya that he loved, and we discovered some new parts together. During that time, I met his family and an endless parade of friends who all welcomed this foreigner who didn't speak a lick of Swahili or Kikamba with open arms. That summer holiday, Paul traveled to Canada with me, where he met my family, which can be daunting with 4 brothers and 5 sisters, but he won everyone over with his charm, intellect, and grace. The only complaint was his accent. They all thought he sounded British, and they had trouble understanding him sometimes. When they witnessed firsthand how he treated me, there were no reservations about us as a couple. From then on, almost every summer we spent in Canada and a Christmas or two. He did not like the cold much, but he did enjoy the Canadian Christmas experience, especially when Isel came into our lives. Paul was not really a romantic fella, and when we did decide to get married, it came about in an unusual way. He asked me what I thought about having a child together, and my response was, I think I'd rather get married first, and that's when we started planning. 3 years later, Isel arrived, and we were very happy with our little girl. The only problem was that everyone who laid eyes on her automatically said she looks just like Paul, a mini version of her dad, and still true to this day, she has all his best traits and passions. They share a talent for art and fashion and a sense of style that I can only admire. They are so much alike, just like her dad, a smile that lights up a room, and quick to laugh, making people want to be with them. I used to tease Paul that when I went to parties or functions without him, I always felt like people would say hi and kind of look over my shoulder, dismissing me and hoping to find Paul. My friends in Laredo nicknamed him the mayor of Westlands because no matter where we found ourselves, in the middle of the Masai Mara or on a deserted Kilifi beach, Samburu game drive, sundowners in Nairobi Park, someone would inevitably show up and we would hear, "Hey, Paul." I was so proud of Paul when he decided to go back to school to do his master's in international relations. It is something he always wanted to study but didn't get the opportunity to do earlier in his life. From there, his destiny changed when he got an internship at the UN, and so his career took off. He loved the travel that came with his job and the people he got to work with and meet along the way. He took pride in his work and legacy of empowering youth in many cities around the world. After 21 years of me living and working in Nairobi, I mentioned the idea about trying to get a teaching job in another country, and he was fully in support. But we had to find a place we could both agree on. The door opened up in Hanoi, Vietnam, and we packed up our family and moved here. That is when I truly found out how many clothes, suits, shoes, and hats Paul owned. I thought when we got to Hanoi, he might look into some opportunities to consult with the UN here or some NGOs, and I kept asking him about that in the first few months. And he would just say, "Let us settle in first." And then finally he made his announcement to me that he was officially retiring. That was when he was 53. And so his new role of the International Man of Leisure started, and he was very good at that job too. When we moved to Hanoi, I was worried that he might be bored and would miss his friends and home too much and be unhappy. but his go-to phrase was, "My home is where you and Ezel are." And of course, wherever he went, he made friends so easily. He already had found a cohort here in Hanoi to talk music with, visit a beer hoy, share whiskey, and smoke the occasional cigar. He introduced me to one of his passions, which was Formula One, and I'll share with you that he watched that final race of this season in the hospital and was so disappointed that his man Hamilton did not win. He enjoyed going to the live races with his Formula One brothers in Turkey and Malaysia and was so disappointed when COVID struck and the Hanoi race and trip had to be canceled. That one would have been epic. One of the other sports we both enjoyed was rugby, and especially rugby sevens. We were fortunate to travel to Singapore and watch the event live and got to meet some of the Kenyan players in person. And we shared a love for golf, playing all summer in Canada, played a few times here in Vietnam. His goal was to beat his wife, and he managed just one time, and he would always make sure others knew about it. Paul was a dynamic man with varied interests and loved conversations that challenged his views and those of others. His music collection and taste was eclectic and extensive, as well as his love of movies and books and single malt scotch. He was so good at keeping in touch with friends around the world. Just recently, he was in a zone listening to music all day, and something must have triggered a memory because he decided to call someone who he hadn't spoken to in over 2 years. Those are the kinds of things he would do. With the group chat that was started after Paul's passing, you can see the testament time and time again of what kind of man he was and what he meant to others. His good friend Jero was a brother from another mother. Jero was like a part of our family, coming for Christmas dinners, beach holidays, birthdays, endless weekend barbecues, and visited us one summer in Canada. When we first met and started dating, I said to myself, Paul is one of the good ones. And despite coming from 2 different cultures, we found our common passions in music, dancing. He was impressed by the rhythm of this white girl, movies, travel, and adventure. I was no dummy. I know a good thing when I see it, and I knew from the first encounter in Gypsies in 1996 that Paul was a good thing. He gave me He's always going to finish this for me. He gave me a wonderful life that we shared together, full of love, laughter, travel, and adventure, and a beautiful, talented daughter. I don't regret a single minute of our relationship of 25 years, 21 in marriage. He was my best friend and confidant, and a wonderful father to Ezel. We were planning our future once I joined him in retirement in June, working towards becoming the international couple of leisure. Paul was taken away from us too early, but I'm comforted by the wonderful memories and will cherish him in my heart forever.
Thank you very, very much, Anne and Ezel. Our most sincere condolences. You've given us a very, very wonderful insight and tribute to a very wonderful man, father, brother, and colleague. So I think we have come to the end of this memorial. We shall play as we are going to just have the slideshow continuing. At this juncture, I'd just like to say a vote of thanks to Kathy, Nick, Ruth, and all those who helped put this thing together. It's a wonderful event. What I see, the venue was a good choice. I hope you all agree. We just invite you to feel free, mingle. I know some of you have not even seen each other. We've had COVID for the last 2.5 years or so. We're going on our 3rd, so I know some of you have not seen each other at all for over 3 years. Let's just start from there. So for those who left us, we mourn them, we remember them. For those of you who are here, thank you very much for coming. The family, close friends, colleagues, and all those who are in the diaspora, who are also watching this event on YouTube. We thank you very much for your tributes on the WhatsApp group. We thank you for the friendship. We thank the Wambua family again for the gift of Paul. And in his spirit, we just have to know that you only live once. just do you. With that, I invite you to mingle, say salams to each other, and enjoy a soft drink or two. Thank you.
Be still, my soul, the Lord is on thy side. Bear patiently the cross of grief or pain. Leave to thy God to order and provide. In every change, He faithful will remain. Be still, my soul, thy best, thy heavenly friend. Through thorny ways leads to a joyful end. Be still, my soul, thy God doth undertake to guide the future as He has the past. Thy hope, thy confidence, let nothing shake. All now mysterious shall be bright at last. Be still, my soul, the waves and winds still know His voice who ruled them while He dwelt below. In you I rest, in you I found my hope, in you I trust. You never let me go. I place my life within your hands alone. Be still, my soul. Be still, my soul. The hour is hastening on when we shall be forever with the Lord. When disappointment, grief and fear are gone, sorrow forgot, love's purest joys restored. Be still, my soul, when change and tears are past, all safe and blessed, we shall meet at last. In you I rest, in you I found my hope, in you I trust. You never let me go. I place my life within your hands alone. Be still, my soul. In you I rest, in you I found my hope, in you I trust. You never let me go.
When I wake up in the morning, love, and the sunlight hurts my eyes, and something without warning, love, bears heavy on my mind. Then I look
you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day. When the day that lies ahead of me seems impossible to face, when someone else instead of me always seems to know the way, then I look at you and the world's alright with me. Just one look at you and I know it's gonna be a lovely day. When the day that lies ahead of me seems impossible to face, and when someone else instead of me always seems to know the way, then I look at you and the world's alright with me. I just one look at you and I know it's gonna be a lovely day.
Some of you young folks been saying to me, "Hey, Pops, what you mean, what a wonderful world? How about all them wars all over the place? You call them wonderful? And how about hunger and pollution? They ain't so wonderful either. But how about listening to old Pops for a minute? Seems to me it ain't the world that's so bad, but what we are doing to it. And all I'm saying is see what a wonderful world it would be if only we'd give it a chance. Love, baby, love. That's the secret. Yeah. If lots more of us loved each other, we'd solve lots more problems. And man, this world would be a guesser. That's why old Pops keeps saying, I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I never knew. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Hey there now.